Alrighty, buddy. You may be from NA, but it is going to be EU that wins this Winter Showdown as Season 8, unfortunately. Or unfortunately for you, very much for me. We're going to have Nouns Esports versus Gen 5 in the Grand Final.
Incredible teams, incredible players, incredible plays. Excited to see what is in store for these grand finals. Nouns Esports coming out of the winner side bracket, Gen 5 coming out of that lower side bracket. So a little bit of the format. It is going to be best of 5 with a 1-game advantage. So that's why you see that 1 in the Nouns category. So Nouns only needs to win the next 2 or 2 of the next 4. And Gen 5, they are going to need to win 3 if they want to be crowned the Winter Showdown champion. Let's look at how we've gotten here. A lot of great teams entered the day, 8 of them to be exact, and only 2 of them stand.
That they do. Nouns didn't have the easiest path into this grand final, though. 2-1 against Sanguine. They were really pushed to the wire. They did manage to beat Nemesis, though in one of those games, it wasn't an easy path for them. They had a difficult fight and managed to win the Rayquaza. That progresses them into the winners final. And then Gen 5. Now, what's interesting about this is that in this winners final, in that second game, Nouns absolutely dominated Gen 5, Kyle. But of course, they gave the Absol over to Nouns. UTAU didn't have access to it. They didn't run a speedster at all, and they didn't score a single point in that game.
I'm excited to see how they attacked this draft, and I think the last few matches are pretty evident. You really cannot allow the team to have Absol, so it seems like it's the best Pokemon available right now. I think if you're on the purple side pick, you can allow that to fall. So kind of forcing the hand of the second pick to, or I guess the second ban to go ahead and ban that. If as long as you have a player that can play it and you want to pick it, because you cannot let UTAU have that. We saw it time and time again. We'll see how Nouns wants to attack it. Immediately, though, they are maybe hovering a couple of those support picks as their bans.
Yeah, the benefit they have is, of course, they are first pick. Now, Bruv has been locking in that Snorlax, but a couple of times we have seen Ghatlue being able to grab one of their speedsters. Talonflame is one that they're very comfortable on. So is the Gengar. So Gen 5 is going to ban out the Talonflame. They don't want to deal with that being so strong currently. What's going to come in here from Nouns? It's going to be the Blissey. That's an interesting pick. I know it's a great pick, to be fair, Kyle, but usually it's a speedster now.
I actually really like this ban here. I think you probably do. I think you probably have to pick Absol in this position, but maybe Nouns is okay with letting UTAU have it if they find a way to counter it. But it just seems like there's so few picks that can counter this Absol. So I really imagine Gen 5 will prioritize their speedster here. But I really do love Bruv on the Snorlax. I think with some of the buffs that it got in this last patch have really made it strong. Look at Tano, double speedster pick 1 and 2 for Gen 5. That I have never seen that happen.
But it looks like I'm looking at the tattoos on my arm. Absol and Gengar right next to each other straight away. This is going to be dangerous because the thing is, right, Gengar is such a disguised heavy Pokemon because people think, oh, you're not going to be able to do anything until you become Gengar. But all you need, Kyle, is Haunter. Hit that level 5, get that Dream Eater, and you can absolutely cook on that Gengar.
Gengar is very strong. Even like you said, even at that level 5, it can kind of catch you off guard. A little bit of Haunter cheese, if you may. Nouns Esports, they are going to combat that with some picks to try to counter, or maybe not necessarily counter, but at least slow down the speedsters from Gen 5. I do love the pick of Adesu on that Espeon. That is going to maybe even be a stored power to kind of slow things down. Indy, they are going to grab that Psyduck. So these seem to be very focused on kind of limiting what the speedsters can do. I'll be excited to see these last 2 picks, though.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before in the earlier broadcast with Speedy. Ghatlue picking up Buzzwole. We haven't seen that many people use it to try and limit these speedsters. So I'm excited to see Ghatlue do that because the superpower can be huge. The CC that it utilizes might be the answer for trying to deal with it. But what I will say, buddy, is every time a team tries to handle UTAU's Absol, they soon realize they absolutely can't.
See, I think maybe Nouns is thinking, well, we have a game in hand. let's see how Gen 5 wants to play this. Let's see. We're going to try to put the best draft that we can to counter it. See if it's even possible, because maybe they're limit testing to figure out how they need to play these final stretch qualifiers in just about a little under a week at this point. So I think this is actually probably the time to do it, to kind of experiment. Okay, if we end up playing against these picks, how do we go about it? Can we even counter? Can we even think about countering it? I do like the way that they're stacking this, but look at this though. This is an attack Snorlax here. Look at that.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, buddy, and this is going to be your first time witnessing it. Bruv has been absolutely cooking on a flail block Snorlax for the entirety of this tournament. They're using the block literally just to give themselves a bit of shield to survive the fights that they're going into. I mean, I love Bruv. I think Bruv is the best defender player in the world, to be honest. You are going to witness some amazing play by that Snorlax here, especially against these feasters.
I like the innovation. I think it could work. I was actually kind of thinking about that. I played a lot of the flail block in the first to 500 point mode, and it felt really strong, especially with the buffs to block, and then just like the heavy melee that you have, along with the heavy melee that you're often against. So I'm excited to see how that's gonna play out into this double speedster. I think it could totally work.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's our grand final. So, of course, this is game 1, but Nouns get the advantage in this best of 5. They're on your purple side. Gen 5 here on our orange side.
Going to see some of the experience going over to Nouns early on. Great last hitting ability with Bruv on the Snorlax, and then a Desu on this Eevee, which will turn into an Espeon. Best Swift of all of the EVs, so that's why you're kind of seeing the early advantage that Nouns has with those last hits.
Hard agree with that one, absolutely. Megu here, trying to put some pressure on as Zacian, one of the best, probably all-rounders in the top lane, but so is the Buzzwole. This is literally just a battle for who can get level 5 first in that top lane right now, Kyle.
I think you have to say it's Buzzwole because this is Ghatlue's channel. I think that's actually in our contracts for this event, is we have to say Ghatlue's the best. So that's what I'm going to go with. No bias at all.
I don't even have to be paid to say it. And there we go. The Buzzwole does go on in. They hit the level 5 first. Ghatlue's going to clean up the rest of them up here. Nouns Esports finds an advantage in this top pad.
See, it wasn't biased. We said it, it spoke it into existence. However, Gen 5 is going to find some value on this bottom side of the path. We're going to see a little bit of a bullying here in this central area. Going to force Utah back to this T2 goal zone for some shields.
Trying to see if they can limit Utah in this early game. They're still level 6, though, so is the Haunter. There goes the Dream Eater onto Bruv. Of course, that's not the target you want. You want to try and see if you can get a Desu, but when Snorlax is in your face, it's really hard to curve a Dream Eater around a mighty mon like that. Zacian gets out with 1 HP, but here comes the Eldegoss to keep it healthy. Utah is here as well, trying to see if they can pick up Ghatlue, but the power of the Psyduck is too much, and Ghatlue pummels them back to the Pokemon Center. Kyle.
I love this synergy between Indy on the Psyduck and Ghatlue. I mean, they just timing the stuns from the Surf and then picking up Utah on that Absol was just picture perfect for them. So really good early on, really good early game, but that's kind of what you expect from this fight right now. But Haunter starting to heat up.
Ooh, they do fine-tune with the Eldegoss getting the KO after the Dream Eater, but Bruv is going to push them onto their own side, and Ghatlue has arrived. The heavyweight champ is going to get some damage onto them. A 2 KO. Megu ain't going to survive either. This comp that Nouns Esports has built is definitely winning this early game right now, Kyle.
Ooh, I love that block there from Bruv. Otherwise, I think they probably go down to that Haunter. So perfectly timed. That's a sign of someone who has played a lot of that Pokemon. I really like this. Trevenant is looking to take away this Registeel, but Indy, once again, a perfect Psychic keeps them away from the steal.
Like, where do you think you're going, buddy? Get away from that one. There's a Revenant Rend from the Cerulege as well, but it's just going to jump onto a powered-up Sacred Sword, so that's going to take them down. Good KO. Now Gen 5 finally gets some advantage. That Lecky is locked in. Gengar is on the field.
There we go. Good response from Nouns, though. It does prevent this Lecky from going in, but the rest of the cavalry's here. Utah's going to use their Unite. Regilecki likely going in. Utah with some huge KOs here, along with this Gengar. And now this goal zone likely going down. They're going to try to maximize, optimize those scores, get the best overcap that you can.
I love this. They're stopping Trevor, then getting back to their pad. They have to back them up. The block from Bruv was huge. They may be able to make it. No, they don't. They do fall. And Ghatlue's found Utah. They do decide to back away from it. Psyduck drops that Psychic onto them as well. But Utah is definitely having to think about their engages here, which they're not used to too much. Gengar uses those citrus berries. They've got that Dream Eater, but again, the block is going to keep Bruv around. So much damage here, and there's a power nap. They're not going to be able to take down Snorlax.
That was an incredible block. That really kept that the Snorlax alive, but not only that, it was able to help take out that Gengar, because I think the Gengar like teleported from that Dream Eater combo right into the wrong position. They got forced into the path by that block, and they went back to the Pokemon Center. We do have a little bit of an evening of scores here with Nouns taking out that top pad, but now there is going to be a basement objective. Bruv might be in a little trouble here.
I mean, the block again and the flail to sprint away. How incredible is this Snorlax play, buddy? Sasha's trying to see if they can find an answer for this top pad right here. They do manage to take down the Psyduck, but Ceruledge is cooking. They do take a 2 KO, and Nouns making the wise decision to retreat out of that engage.
Starting to really like Toon on the Ceruledge, especially with those double speedster. The Phantom Force should be able to dodge a lot of the damage, maybe wait out some of the cooldowns from Gen 5 to go. But now they're going to pounce on this basement Regirock down here, and it's going to be 4-on-4, maybe 5-on-5.
There's the Phantom Ambush from the Gengar. They're going to lock in with that Dream Eater. They're not able to take out the Psyduck, though. The assistance was there, and now they're going to fall. Nouns Esports trying to see if they can put up a bit of zone in here. Utah has come. There's the Psycho Cut, but of course the Power Nap takes place. The Sacred Sword's going to land, and they do find the Regirock on the side of Gen 5. They take down Ghatlue as well, and they make a good decision to actually get back onto their pad here.
Gonna steal some berries as Bruv, throw a block for good measure. Might be delaying the inevitable here, as they're likely going back to the Pokemon Center. Absol able to clean that KO up. And this basement pad, this basement goal zones for both teams are standing strong. Toon was able to escape and now head towards this Regilecki, but Gen 5 is hiding in the wings looking for a steal.
Oh, the Revenant Rend comes out, it finds the Lecky, it also dives onto the rest of Gen 5. They may have been taken down for it, but at least that pressure from the Lecky isn't getting pushed onto their side. Smart play by Toon there.
I think so. They do, like you said, they do go down, so they do hemorrhage a little bit of the XP that they've gained throughout this match over to Gen 5, but I believe it was Gengar that took him out, so probably not the worst thing that happened here. 123-101, 1 minute left until this Rayquaza spawns, and Gen 5, they are putting the pressure on Nouns right now.
Bruv finally falls, but the difficulty is Phantom Ambush was used for it. Lunda is going to have to do a little bit of farming to make sure they get that back for the Rayquaza, but you can just go and farm Nouns if you get the opportunity to do so. They're diving onto this T1 pad. Ghatlue's here trying to see if they can put up a good defense with a Detsu in the back line as well, and it feels like Gen 5 have taken the opportunity to just get away from this pad here, Kyle.
I think it was Ghatlue that used Gen 5's own teammate to stop some of the scoring. It's a huge superpower smackdown combination. So I really like that. Basement objective. The Reggie Roulette will be spawning in 15 seconds. This might be one of the Rayquaza fights. Ghatlue's starting it off. They take out the support player for Gen 5. That Eldegoss goes down. This might be Nouns' play for this Reggie.
Wow, I love the way that Indy is pairing that Psychic. They pull them in to the arms of Ghatlue. They use their superpower Smackdown, take out some quick KOs, and they know we're going to get this. Leave Toon and the Desu to lock that Registeel in. Yet again, Nouns Esports gets a Registeel buff before Rayquaza.
This is going really well for Nouns. They may not have the advantage in the score, but they have advantage for this fight with that buff here to Registeel. We'll see what happens. This fight's already breaking out.
They're trying to dive into the pit here on Utah, trying to see if they can get some damage onto the Rayquaza. It's kind of getting ripped whilst all this action falls down. Who was even able to lock it in? I believe it was Gen 5. Yes, Utah does take out the Rayquaza. Now they just sprint to score these points, and we've got 1:30 on the board with a couple of hundo burgers raining in.
I don't know if I see many shields left, so Nouns, all 5 members, I don't think it really matters, as points will be falling in regardless. Gengar has full pockets, no shield in tow, but 300 points is going to separate these teams. So not over just yet with a minute left. Nouns does have to go back on the offensive, find some KOs. That's a good start for them. They take out the Trevenant.
They do have a T1 pad that they can push onto, but Utah does have that Midnight Slash. Pair that with that Psycho Cut. There we go. They can delete Psyduck instantly. They are dived on in the backline. They find a Desu as well, and that might be a little too late for Nouns Esports now.
Yep, there it is. There's the GG for Nouns. They saw the writing on the wall. Gen 5 with a great defensive stand to secure their win here in, well, it is technically game 1 of this set, since Nouns Esports did have that 1-game winner side advantage, but they even up the score, and now we have essentially a best of 3.
Wow, okay. I mean, not to prove my point, but yet again, Utah's Absol could not be stopped, buddy. They definitely struggled a little bit in the earlier game, but they still found a way to make Gen 5 the champions in this game.
Hey, I think so too. I mean, yeah, 96k damage. Not a whole lot of things could stop it. I think that's probably as good as you can wish for if you're Nouns, and I think going into this next match, I think almost you either have to pick or ban this Absol away from Gen 5, because you want to get them not only off the strongest Pokemon, but away from their comfort zone almost. So we'll see how Nouns wants to attack it, but right now, I think you kind of have to ban that thing.
Yeah, I mean, they could pick it. They do have players on their team that use Absol. I mean, Ghatlue is very comfortable on Absol themselves. They've used quite a lot of these speedsters now with the recent changes, so that might be a plan that they could go for, because you still need to also consider banning that Talonflame, because whilst, you do get rid of the Absol, Talonflame, again, being up there as one of the strongest speedsters in the game, so it's tough. There's so many that work, but as you say, you've got to take that comfort pick away from Utah. He's too good on it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, right? Like, you can take away a comfort pick regardless. I think it's always good. I think there are a lot of teams, even before the Absol buffs, that oftentimes did ban Absol because of the way Utah was able to pilot that Pokemon. That was before the buffs. Post buffs, I don't see a reason to leave that thing on the board for them to pick up. So I think it's too strong. I think the buffs did it a little bit of an overtune.
I agree, but I'm a speedster player. I love Absol. I agree. They're overtuned. The defense penetration, I'm with you. I saw that 60%, and I was like, 60 is a pretty high number, guys. Out of 100, it's a pretty high number. So yeah, I think they are overtuned. But I like what you said, and I think it's right. Nouns were looking, with being a game up, to see whether they could handle Utah's Absol in that game.
I think so. We're going to see maybe something very similar out of Nouns. They are on that first pick side again, so they could leave it on the board just to pick it up for themselves. And I really do like it. If you are going to be, using that strategy, I mean, then you typically want to ban some of those supports away from them, right? Like anything that can enable a strong pick from Gen 5 themselves. So, banning that Umbreon's very good. Banning Blissey could be very good. Banning Snorlax. So we're not going to see that first pick Snorlax here from Nouns. I envision that we'll see one of those speedsters be taken early on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with a first pick Absol or Gengar here, to be honest. That's why they're getting rid of that Snorlax. Bruv obviously usually...
Or Psyduck.
I'd be surprised. There we go. Gatlue's taking the Absol straight out.
Like, please, please take it away from Utah. Please. Ghatlue on it, I think, is always a strong play. Lunder and okay, they are gonna grab the Psyduck. Okay, so I actually really like that pick. I think you could have even gone Blissey here, but Utah once again is gonna grab a speedster. This time it is gonna be of the ghost variety, Gengar. It's going to be the one that takes. And Nouns, I love the Blissey pick here. It's going to really help enable, it's going to pocket Ghatlue on that Absol.
Ooh, an Inteleon coming onto the field. It's going to be really good as well because, of course, with these pro players, Kyle, it is incredibly difficult to get onto an Inteleon. The Fell Stingers and the way that they sit in that back line, it doesn't matter if you can break through it. That's one job. Then also getting onto a Desu is going to be another. So I like this pick from Nouns Esports. Gen 5, they're going to lock in Megu onto this Zacian. Kranix looks like they're going to pick up the Trussel, maybe with the reach of those walls to see if they can catch out that thing Inteleon.
I like that play. However, I would be a little bit worried about this Absol onto the Crustle. There's a lot of stuns that Pokemon has, but we'll see how it plays. I don't think it's like the best tank, but it could definitely work. It's definitely niche. And right now, it's actually not slotted as their tank. Right now, it's slotted as kind of a melee carry, right? You see the attack weight, you see the Aeos cookie to kind of boost its HP pool, and I think that's relatively safe considering, you know, there's no Umbreon to steal some shields on the opposite side.
What draft are we in here, Kyle?
I don't
we
know,
have a
man.
Wigglytuff coming out. We have a Machamp coming out. Utah is going to go onto the Machamp. No, in fact, they're going to rotate that around again to Kranix. But Toon also picking up the Lucario. Still very good in the position that it's currently in. Power Up Punch or E-Speed. But I love the Power Up Punch at the moment. I think that with the close combat is really good for Lucario.
And I'm seeing Gen 5 doing one of my favorite strategies on the Psyduck, utilizing the leftovers. I think a lot of teams, I'm not even joking. I think a lot of teams really should start thinking about it. And Gen 5 is one of the teams that has used it. They used it in Aeos Cup. With the popularity rising of these non-healing compositions, especially something like Psyduck, it allows you to stay on the map. It allows you to keep pressure on the map, especially after a team fight where normally maybe you have some health bar, and when you don't have someone that can really top off those bars, you know, like a healer like a Clef or an Umbreon or a Blissey, you don't really have any options to continue to put pressure on. So, you know, you win the basement objective and you want to push that T2 pad. Normally you have to go back to base. This time you can kind of stay on the map, maybe put some of your points in. I like it. I think it works really well. I think Psyduck is a perfect Pokemon to use it, especially with that headache.
Well, I mean, if you've been keeping an eye on any of the Chinese teams, they use leftovers pretty much exclusively over there. So I actually agree with you as well, Kyle. But here we go. It's going to be the second game of this grand finals. But of course, it is 1-1 across the board.
1-1, almost a best of 3 at this point. We're going to see the Zacian along with the Psyduck head towards this top path. Lucario looking to set up an ambush, and I think it was actually Gen 5 that was able to take out some of that experience away from Nouns Esports.
Lucario trying to see if they can lock in onto Psyduck here, but it is a difficult Pokemon to take down so early. If they can get Blissey Evo'd, it is going to make things a lot easier for Toon up in this top half. They do manage to take that neutral farm, and that might be how this top lane is decided.
Yeah, Nouns Esports, while they did lose some of their own experience of those wild Pokemon, they are able to take away some of Gen 5. So, you know, a little bit of payback early on. Ghatlue is kind of hovering, but they are found out by this Haunter who is up for the top for these 850 birds as well. So it is going to be a 3-on-3. Drizzile is making their way up, so it will be a 4-on-3. Nouns has the power play.
They need to wait for this Stream Eater, of course. You don't want to be caught out with that around. They do manage to get the Evo onto Blissey. Now they can get aggressive with it. The Felstang is here. The Drizzle's trying to see if they can get some more with the water gun. But Nouns have now made the decision to retreat. Yeah, it looks like Ghatlue is going to go hunting here, Kyle.
They were kind of monitoring to see if they could go into a little bit of an invade, maybe disrupt the flow from Gen 5. However, that was found out by the Crustle, and ooh, getting caught in that wall with that Rock Tomb was the Wiggly that forced out the eject button there.
Zacian doing what Zacian does best, pushes onto this pad, a huge amount of damage raining on in. Lucario's trying to see if they can do anything against it. The Surf from the side up pushes them back into the Zacian. There's the Metal Claw, but they've got so weak here. They're 1 HP in a Dream Mega. He's going to make it out. Blissey with the XP to see if they can catch him, but decides not to and backs up Toon.
That was incredible play. Just barely. Perfect position for Psyduck as well. They made sure that they were in between the Zacian and Nouns Esports with their headache to kind of force them a little bit farther away. That enabled Zacian to get to safety. So heads up play there from that Psyduck.
Only 5 points have been dunked as well. Both of these teams are really wary of each other right now, and any stacking on the side of Nouns Esports hasn't gone ahead just yet. Massive snipe shot onto the Crustle, says goodbye. Pokemon Center for them, and they also steal this farm away from Gen 5. Here we go. Lunda's coming on down. The Haunter's ready. They put the Dream Eater onto the Wigglytuff. Maybe not the main target. Bruv does manage to get out, but I tell you what, Ghatlue takes some clean KOs on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Wigglytuff is going to be forced to head back to the base to just top off their HP bar because they were dangerously low. I don't think they wanted to take the berries either, or maybe they were gone. However, Registeel in this basement path, we're going to see if Adesu is able to hit some snipe shots to force Gen 5 away. Either way, Gen 5 able to take that Regieleki in that top path.
Going to see if they can take this as well, but they're not able to. There we go. Registeel over to the side of Nouns Esports. That Lecky goes into the T1. Let's see if Gen 5 can decide to break it. It will open experience for Nouns as they push further onto this. Crustle falls again. Psyduck's not going to be able to do enough to defend. This could be broken. It is going to be, but I don't think they got the 40 in there, Kyle.
It didn't get the 40. They're going to go ahead and break this with a 10-point overcap in the top path. So not the most optimal, but I think Gen 5, which is just wanting to get some stacks onto that Machoke, who has not evolved yet. Nice little push here from Nouns, but it is caught. It is found out from Gen 5, and they have the Cavalry here. Oh, Ghatlue might be caught. Blissful Assistance onto them. That does take out the Zacian. There's the Unite move from Ghatlue. They take out another 2 KOs for them.
Phantom Ambush has to be used here by Gengar. They're trying to see if they can get round to get anyone, but no, they have to use it to retreat. I think Nouns Esports came out of that one feeling pretty rosy, so 112 points to 99. It's pretty close score-wise. Level-wise, it's edging ever closer to the side of Nouns Esports.
Absolutely, yeah, and they have both of those goal zones broken, or at least one of them, right? So that is pretty big for them. Blissey, it's Ender getting out just barely. It looked like Crustle wanted to throw a rock to him. Might have been on cooldown or maybe a little bit out of the range. You do have level 9 on this Machamp finally, so they will have access to that Barrage Blow Unite move when these objectives spawn up. So if you're Nouns, you have to be ready for it. You have to be aware. Blissey's going to have to use a Safeguard very timely to prevent some of that damage.
Rightly so. We have 18 seconds on this basement Reggie as well. We do see Gen 5 rotating a lot of their Pokemon down there for it. We are trying to see if we can pick out Blissey here on the side of Utah, but they do have that safeguard that's going to enable them to at least get themselves back down onto this pad, and they're leaving the Lecky open. Both teams want to go for this Registeel.
It's going to be another Registeel. That could be really pivotal for these two squads. We're going to see Ghatlue just peel onto it immediately, and Nouns Esports is going to be in position. It's just this Crustle and this Psyduck kind of monitoring to see if they can maybe stall it out a little bit, but I'm not sure if that's going to do the trick because there's a lot of Secures here for Nouns.
There we go. Ghatlue manages to lock in the Registeel. They take the Crustle for its efforts as well. Lecky, though, has been taken by Gen 5. Of course, Nouns are comfortable with just defending that. Will we see a push onto the T1 here from Gen 5, though? Nouns Esports look like they're prepared for it. They're going to leave people down here to defend against it.
This is also a really good heads-up play from Gen 5 that Psyduck was in position on their own T2 on that bottom path, right? Like, now you saw Nouns maybe peek a little bit forward to maybe look for a score down there while that Regieleki was up in the top path, but heads up play from Psyduck prevented any of that from happening.
If we can get a Barrage Blow working here, we've got 340 on the board. They need to, if they want to use it, they need to use it before that mark. Wonder here, getting stuck up against Bruv. This is the power of Wigglytuff. They're going to be put to sleep. The Dream Eater doesn't find the KO. They have to use the eject button to get out of there. Oh my god, they've got the recital going off, and they've managed to get themselves at least a round from that Gengar back to the Pokemon Center. They're going to be able to get some healing. Wow, Bruv is just distracting them, but they do get KO'd. Bit of experience there for Zacian.
I love that play. I think that's exactly what you need to do if you're the support player, if you're a Wigglytuff. Really just cause chaos on the opposite side. You have a lot of self-sustain with that Sing to kind of just stall out some KOs. And they distracted 3 members of Gen 5 for quite a bit by themselves. So huge plays there. And even going down there, going down again, doesn't give a ton of experience. You know, you're only level 10. It doesn't give a ton of experience over to Gen 5. It does give a little bit, but if you're the lowest level in the lobby on your squad, you don't really mind that KO, especially if you're able to do that amount of distraction from them.
Yeah, rightly so. And of course, you're going to get some of your night move cooldown back as well. There's some snipe shots coming in. Are they able to find some KOs? Yes, they do. They're not able to stay around on that Crustle. And we also see the barrage blow coming out 16 seconds away from Rayquaza. They do take down the Inteleon, though. That's a 2 KO in return. Ghatlue is here. They take the third on Utah. Wow, that's a triple KO for both teams there, Kyle.
A lot of Unite moves used in that fight. You had Psyduck and Machamp using theirs. Ghatlue utilizes theirs as well. I believe Lucario also used theirs, so I don't know if they'll have theirs back. Rayquaza already starting to get chipped. We're starting to see some Unite moves fly out again. Rayquaza already at half.
Wow, okay, the rip is on, and it's going to be that Lucario that locks it in for Nouns Esports. If they can push here and score these hundo burgers. I like this from Utah. I don't know whether it's going to be enough, though, because there's so much change in the pocket of Nouns Esports.
A lot of money in the pockets. There it is. There's the GG. I think Machamp was going to go to score. We're like, I don't think you're going to have a shot here. So they just let to go ahead and wave the white flag, go on to the next one. And yeah, I think this is exactly kind of what we've been seeing all day, right? The team that has this Absol has been winning. Ghatlue doing a lot of work. I did like that push there for Gen 5, you know, utilizing a lot of their resources because that could have been the fight. Unfortunately, Ghatlue was able to just pull their trigger a little bit faster, found a couple of KOs, and at that point, Gen 5 didn't really have the artillery to go ahead and pivot to Rayquaza and rip it because you found a couple of KOs on both sides.
Yeah, definitely, rightly so. And have 3 Pokemon no longer on the field is a massive amount of your team that you aren't able to do anything with. So fair play to Nouns Esports, definitely taking that Absol away from Gen 5. Seems to have worked for them here. They are now going to be on match point.
Match point 2-1. So it is a best of 5, and Nouns Esports just needs that extra 1 to put them and cement them as the champions of your winter showdown here. Gen 5, yeah, look at that. Look at the score. It was very close throughout, but Nouns Esports able to secure that Rayquaza and push them into the victory. But wow, what a set.
Yeah, it really, really is. That game, it looks like literally they both kind of ramped up the scoring at the same time, pretty much leveled off, and then it came down to Rayquaza there, Kyle. So these two teams are just, every time they go up against each other, it is always a fantastic show. And I like the fact that Nouns are now recognizing the threat that Utah imposes with that Absol and finding a way to take that away from them without having to utilize those bans. Ghatlue's quite comfortable on that Pokemon as well. So I think we're going to have to see a lot more speedster practice from all of these teams as they go into the final stretch next week.
You have to be ready. I assume it's going to be commonly banned are those speedsters. The other thing that I saw in that last match, there was only 8k taken from a Desu on that Inteleon. It didn't seem like, even though, you know, you had a Gengar on the opposite side, they weren't able to sneeze on him. He was incredibly insulated from Ender, from the tank. I mean, it was almost a masterclass of how to space yourself away from the opponent, not finding any really big KOs on the Inteleon, and able to do a ton of damage from that backline spot.
Yeah, I said this before we went into the game. Like, Inteleons are so difficult to catch, and especially with people that are so comfortable on it, like a Desu, of course. As soon as you get through that front line that is built around them, you then have to catch them, Kyle. And that itself is a mission. And it proves with the fact that only 8k damage put onto it is just ridiculously good. So it looks like they could go for that play if they want to. And it looks like at least Nouns Esports have found a comp that they think works quite comfortably for them.
It seems very comfortable, right? I think it worked really well. I would envision that if you are now, or if you are Gen 5, you may be in a position where you're in first spot, right? It looks like
Mm.
teams are going to be switching sides. So Gen 5 has the option to leave Absol off of the bans and pick it first, which I imagine that you'll do, right? Like you want to force Noun's hand to make them ban that Pokemon so Yutao can pick it up. I imagine though, Nouns has seen enough of that Pokemon in Yutao's hands to just go ahead and ban it themselves. So be interested to see what Gen 5 does select to ban.
Yeah, and then also, what do they select to pick first? Because
Yeah.
if Nouns do go for the ban on that Absol, the second ban that we like to see a lot of recently is that Talonflame. But Nouns really do like to ban out the Umbreon. They don't like that going through and going up against
Mhm.
that. So this is the issue of first pick because Snorlax has been so heavily important in this game, but so has Talonflame. What do you go for? Because you can bet that the team on second pick are going to get two huge ones off the bounce of that.
You absolutely will, right? There's so many picks that are like, second, third that are very strong in their own right. So I'll be interested to see how they attack this draft. Gen 5 immediately going for a speedster ban, which I'm not too surprised. I think they maybe think that Nouns has somebody that can play that Talonflame pretty well. They're lining up the Meowscarada ban, which also I think is also very strong. Nouns Esports, they banned that Aegislash, and I,
Oh,
there's no
wow.
Absol ban here, Tano. This is very interesting. I just fully expect Gen 5 to pick that first, right? You have to.
Yeah, I mean, having said that, in the previous set they went up against Nouns, they did actually, in this position, give it over to Nouns. So let's see. It looks like they're going to go for it here. Utah's going to get access to it. I'm really interested with these bans here, to be honest. I understand the side. I mean, the Talonflame direct ban on Ghatlue, the Masquerada direct ban on Toon. We're going to see Ghatlue pick up the Gengar. They're quite comfortable on that right now, and Bruv gets his ever-trusted Snorlax as well.
I like it. We'll see how it works here. It worked okay in game one, right? Even though you had the Absol, you had that double speedster composition for Gen 5. It didn't look terrible. Obviously, they didn't win that game, but they were still in it. They played it very well. They played it as well as almost you can. Gen 5 has a very strong draft right now. Not only that Absol, but you have that Blissey and then that backline Mewtwo Y damage, which is going to be so incredibly valuable if you're able to insulate that Pokemon away from this Gengar. It's going to be a tall task, though, because you don't right now have any defender picks. We'll see what Gen 5 wants to line up for their tank, their front line. I like this Blaziken pick for that last hit ability. You definitely need that. But as far as defenders, I mean, maybe you could go with a Blastoise. Yeah, the Crustle pick they had last time, which was really strong. There's a couple of options here. I think, though, this Trevenant could be the best one available.
Yeah, I'm likely to agree with you. Adesu picking up the Pikachu as well. Usually at this stage, they're locking in that Espeon, but now they want to go for a little bit more lockdown. Will they go for the artillery? We have seen them use it during this tournament, but also Electro Ball, Volt Tackle being there. If they really want to try and shut down Yutao, I don't know. Toon's quite comfortable on this Lucario as well. It just feels like here, this is going to be the matchup of the day. Of course, Gen 5 does have that support in the Blissey, whilst Nouns Esports, they've definitely gone for the two defenders, but we know what Umbreon's like, Kyle. It is pretty much a support with that Wish, right?
It basically is. The Wish is so valuable. The only kind of downside is that it's a single target heal, right? Which I guess is not that big of a deal since Gen 5 is a very burstable, or like they have a very burst comp. They don't have a lot of poke. Like there's just really that Mewtwo Y in that regard. So they're really looking to try to just chunk Nouns down as fast as they can. So Umbreon, it kind of works out that pretty well into that. Absol, man. Absol. I have to think that these teams are just trying to limit tests to see what can work against it, if there is. Because at this point in the tournament, you just have to know that that's the best Pokemon on the field that's available. Even before the buffs that it received in this last patch, Absol was probably the most pivotal Pokemon in that speedster role, especially amongst these top teams. But we are grand finals. This is going to be potentially the last match or the last game if Nouns Esports is able to collect.
Yeah, no surprise. We're going to be seeing Ghatlue going into the central area for Nouns Esports with Gengar, and it's going to be Blaziken doing the same for Gen 5. I love this top lane for Nouns Esports as well. It's going to be really important to get that Evo onto the Umbreon. Down here, it's going to be a bit difficult going up against Lunda. Mewtwo Y is so good in these early stages.
It is, but a lot of great last hitting for Nouns Esports. They were able to take that contested Indeedee away from Gen 5. So that is kind of the downside of Gen 5's composition. Not a lot of pressure on the early game, and that's a huge KO for Toon here, Tano.
Wow, Utah, they panicked as soon as they dived in. They knew they weren't going to get the KO. They had to run, but the slow was there as well. And Toon finds a quick KO on to Utah. So they're not going to get any stacks out of that first pressure in the lane. No KOs. Here comes Ghatlue, level 5 on this Haunter with the Dream Eater ready to go, Kyle.
I love it. 850 birds. I think Gen 5 might just have to give this up. And I think that's why their central area Pokemon went bottom. They knew that they weren't going to find any value. So all of these birds likely going over to Gen 5, and Gen 5 just going to have to concede this top path completely. A lot of points going on in. Are they going to be able to get some value bottom, though?
Pikachu's running on back. Are they going to be able to get there? Oh my god, the defense here. This person is broken on this Pokemon, buddy. It's absolutely insane from Bruv to defend that. And Ghatlue is just going to continue to walk through the central area of Gen 5 with Indy. It's all their farm now.
Absolutely. That is our red buff. That is our central area for Ghatlue, and they still have their own stuff to get, right? Like, this is exactly what you need to do if you get an advantage heavily, right? Like, they took full advantage of that top path, and now that's going to award them pretty much the entire central area for Gen 5 along with these birds. So right now, Nouns is completely getting the best of Gen 5 this match.
Oh, they find U2Y as well. Lunda can't get away. Ghatlue is so close to becoming Gengar and having Phantom Ambush before the 7-minute mark. This is the Ghatlue show here. We're on their channel, and they are absolutely putting on a show for us.
No bias at all. And look at this. Is this a power-up punch close combat Lucario? So not something that you normally see, but I like the last hitting ability because outside of the Pikachu, if it goes Electro Ball, which it didn't, by the way, you don't have a lot of great last hitting.
No, that's right. And I actually love the mage build on Pikachu there, so I'm actually really happy with it, buddy. The Dream Eater there doesn't quite land where they want it to, and Trevenant does have to back on up. Lunda, though, they're going to prepare, trying to build up that Mega. It's a Regirock down in this basement lane. Pikachu does find the answer for the Trevenant, and now Regirock is going to be free for Nouns Esports to grab. Lecky, though, taken by Gen 5. They're locking that Blaziken out of the fight. Good defense here from Umbreon.
Very, very good defense from Ender, locked in with that mean look. And look at this, turning that defense into offense is Nouns Esports. They realized that Gen 5 was likely going to be coming through that central area, so Ghatlue was ready to just pull the trigger on their Unite move. They didn't quite find a KO, but they were able to find some value, prevented Gen 5 from going into their central area.
Gatlue's going to throw a Shadow Ball, see if they can pick up any KOs on that wild farm whilst it was there. Definitely not wanting to dive on in. Good patient play from Ghatlue there. We're going to see Toon just try and see if they can cause some disruption up onto this pad with Utah trying to defend it on that Absol. But here comes a Desu as well. Can they get these points in? It's a big 40. It is going to be a Desu to defend. I think they just accept their fate there, Kyle.
That was very smart by this Absol to not go in because Gengar was hiding in the shadows and might have found the KO if they tried to engage on the Pikachu. So maybe they saw that on the mini-map. Good KO there to combat any additional push there, taking out Umbreon, sending them back. However, Bruv on the bot side is being an absolute menace, providing maximum amount of value in the offlane.
I mean, Brother's been an absolute menace this entire tournament. Pretty much locked onto Snorlax for the entirety of it with an absolute showing, buddy. They just cannot take Bruv down. Gatlue's trying to see if they can find that Dream Eater onto anyone that's worthwhile, but Blissey's going to be a difficult one when it's diving straight onto that Trevenant and Mewtwo. Why? 5 minutes on the board here. Nouns Esports definitely have the advantage on the level front and the score front, Kyle.
Yeah, 193 to 56 at the halfway mark, and this basement path is set up for a quite significant overcap. However, good catch there from the Trevenant. Finds Snorlax hiding in the tall bush. Nice block there to prevent a lot of that damage from the overheat. However, Gen 5 is in position for this Registeel. All 5 members, it's going to be 5-on-5 down here.
Oh, there's Ghatlue with the Phantom Ambush. They dive in with the Dream Eater, and they do pop it as well. They find 2 KOs. Yutao uses their Midnight Slash, but it doesn't do enough because Gengar has come to play. They're going to leave Ghatlue to rip that basement Reggie whilst they come and take all the experience away from Gen 5 yet again.
Talked about how they set themselves up for a massive overcap with that 1 point left on that goal zone. Instead, they just make me entirely wrong. They go for a 4-point cap, only 3-point overcap. But I think right now they're just trying to give themselves some time and space. They haven't broken any goal zones, have Gen 5. So Nouns Esports has full control of this map. They're just trying to continue to put that and push that advantage. And they do find some scores on that T2 bottom side too.
Really interesting. Desu does have the Volt Tackle that they're putting on to be able to disrupt people. So I like it. Here comes the Lecky onto this T2, but of course that springboard is here. The Thunderstorm comes down, and Desu, they do find the Blaziken. The Midnight Slash was there as well, but Pikachu is going to go down. Lucario is in the middle of all this fight, but of course the close combat is going to enable them to not be hindered. So wait for Ghatlue to get here, and then they just clean up the rest of Gen 5. The block, is it going to do enough for the Lecky to go in? No, it isn't, because Blaziken is there. It's teetering on the edge right now. Yutao does the right play, stops that Lecky, takes it down. Now they can defend this pad, but now they want to stay here and continue with this right now, Kyle. They've managed to get the Phantom Forest out of the Trevenant as well, finally making the right decision to retreat, but Ghatlue's going to get a 2 KO for their efforts.
I think they scored a bunch on that T2 on the bottom side too. I mean, look at the score, 301, so they must have away from the play. Level 4, like, look at these levels right now. Level 14 on the Gengar Lucario, level 13 on your Battle Snorlax. Like, this is some absurd stuff here from Nouns Esports, who are absolutely putting the pedal to the metal, not letting their foot off on the gas. And they have another basement Reggie that will be spawning, which they'll potentially have enough time to get. But right now, they are setting up in the Rayquaza pit, looking for a KO. They find it on Absol.
Oh, Yutao no longer here. They can take the rest of them. They're going to be up for Rayquaza, but if they can find more KOs, the Blissful Assistance comes through as well. Nouns Esports may have just decided this game by deleting Yutao at the exact moment they were trying to push into these bushes for this Rayquaza. It's just spawned. The rip is on. Nouns Esports are going for it. If they can stop Yutao getting in with that Midnight Slash, they're going to be able to win, but they wait for the right moment, and Ghatlue locks in the Rayquaza. Nouns Esports, they're going to be able to win this championship if they can just score these points.
Oh my gosh, just an incredible clinic here from Nouns Esports. They said, no Absol, no problem here. We have a Gengar. Everybody getting caught between the block and the hard place from Bruv. And this was just a clinic from Nouns Esports, who are going to waltz in as your grand finals champion pending anything insane happening. They have nearing a 500-point lead right now, and with still some shields in tow and 2 Pokemon in the Pokemon Center for Gen 5. This is just all but confirmed. 708, 768. This has been all Nouns this match.
I love the fact that Ghatlue wasn't even concerned about scoring. He's just like, I'm going to go get more KOs. Let me go and drop these 3 meters. Takes out another 2 and then progresses to score. But yes, EUIC may not have gone the way that Nouns wanted it to, but this Winter Showdown absolutely has, and they've made a statement here today. They are back and they are ready to battle on through any part of this UCS season.
Oh, incredibly. I think, going into it, yeah, obviously the breakup was a little bit surprising for anybody involved, but I think in general, they've performed so well. May not have been able to, be the champion of this last cup. They weren't able to win EUIC, but they still performed incredibly well. And whenever you have these players on the same team, you're going to have a chance to win a cup. I think just it's a matter of getting on the same page, being ready for your teammates, and just putting forth the effort. And they put the effort in today. They put in the effort yesterday in the qualifiers. So they're looking fantastic. I mean, this is going to be a team to beat. And if they're able to kind of clinch their way in on your final stretch qualifiers this next week, I think they're going to be back. And this is a great first step.
It's also huge that Gen 5, they had Utah on that Absol, and one that they are incredibly comfortable to be on, and still they didn't get themselves a win. You know, all of those Pokemon are comfortable on the side of Gen 5, but now Esports just found a way to give themselves an advantage in that game, Kyle, and as soon as they did not let go of the pressure, constantly locking it down. 114k damage coming in from Ghatlue, 39% of the team damage on that one Gengar.
The entire amount of damage that he dealt, or that he took. So he took 13k damage, and every bit of damage that he took, he healed. 13k more healed. So like 200, oh yeah, 150 if I'm doing math correctly. He healed every bit of damage that he took. So essentially took 0 damage and did 114k. That Pokemon, very strong. Didn't seem like Gen 5 was ready for it.
I mean, I believe we're going to have the opportunity to be interviewing one of the players. I think it is going to be Ghatlue, so we'll just wait for the team to get that prepared, buddy, because, boy, do we have some questions. That was incredible from Nouns Esports, being able to take this entire tournament. Against Gen 5, they're not an easy team to beat, but not only did they manage to shut them out in the winners final, but dominate that game in the grand final as well.
Yeah, complete domination. Yeah, they obviously lost that first, technically first match of this grand finals, but I don't think it was all that, it wasn't like a stomp from Gen 5. They had the Absol, but it was a very close game throughout. Just kind of came down to who won the Rayquaza. It was just kind of a coin flip situation. Unfortunately, it didn't flip in their way, but the rest of the matches in this set completely did. I don't think Nouns really had a question on if they were going to win. It was just a matter of, can we execute at the right times? And sure enough, they did.
Oh, rightly so. And here we go. We do have Ghatlue in VC with us now. Hello, buddy. How are you doing today?
Hello. I mean, I'm feeling great. I think we had some conversations. Obviously, you guys know the news. And I think I typed.
So, I mean, you've performed really well in this tournament here today, buddy. Of course, coming off the back of what was going on, as you've mentioned, you've come in as a team and you've managed to find. I mean, you did have some difficult games in the early stages. You went to that 2-1, but as soon as you settled in, it felt like you'd really found an answer. And I think a lot of it comes around those speedsters, right, Ghatlue? How are you feeling with being comfortable on that Gengar and on that Talonflame we've been seeing you play?
I mean, on the Talonflame and the Absol, I have like my mouse games on. I used to be like the type of speedster player. I used to play Gengar for fun because I have like a redeem where people can tell me how shit my Gengar is. And eventually, after 3 years, I think my Gengar improved.
So this is basically the meta for Ghatlue, is what you're telling us, right? Just back on these really comfortable Pokemon. And as we saw, right, so Utah, one of the best Absol players that we see, absolutely fantastic on that Pokemon. Is it really important? Did you feel like you had to take that away from Gen 5? Or were you trying to test out what you could do to combat what Utah was doing on it?
It's probably like a mix of both. I think every speedster is just broken, and it kind of depends on how the game is going. Because if you are getting ahead of the other speedster, eventually, like, you just one-shot them. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that Absol is a speedster, Gengar is a mage. He's not a speedster.
Oh, yes. Interesting way of looking at that, right, Kyle? I quite like the way of looking at that.
I do too.
Sorry?
I was going to say, so obviously we have the final stretch qualifiers going to be coming up in just a little bit under a week. How are you? How is the team kind of feeling going into it, especially after, taking this grand finals win here? A lot of incredible teams that you're likely going to be able to see this upcoming weekend. How are you guys feeling about your chances going into this next tournament?
I think we are feeling pretty confident, but we still have to mark our issues within the team. So even though we won the both cups from this week, because you also won the weekly, I think we just have to stay on our ground and keep focusing on improving. Because even if we don't perform as best as we could next week, I think we are. I want to go into Worlds saying we prepared enough for Worlds instead of taking the small wins as granted.
Yeah, I think that's really important. But hey, I feel like from our perspective at least, Ghatlue, it feels like Nouns Esports are finding the right track for them. You've managed to win these 2 minor ones, as you say, and you're going to be coming into final stretch feeling pretty confident. So huge shout out to Nouns Esports here today. You're an absolute joy to watch as always. Thanks for being here. Thanks for competing. And of course, thanks for letting us on your channel, buddy. You go and have a lovely rest of your evening. We're going to be heading to a break, I believe. So we'll be back shortly, I think. I'm just checking with production here.
See you, everyone.
Thanks, Ghatlue. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Thank
We'll
you,
have a look
Ghatlue.
at the bracket. That's what we'll do. I think that's what we'll do. Let's have a look at a review of the bracket before we end it for the day. Of course, that's going to be the end of the Winter Showdown Season 8. And I believe the top 2 teams actually get invited to the Summer Showdown. So that is going to be Nouns and Gen 5. As we have a look here at this bracket, Kyle.
Fantastic showing from all of the teams today. Obviously, Nouns on top. Gen 5, a close second place. Nemesis going to be locking in that third, Sanguine fourth. So, 2 teams from EU, 2 teams from North America. Obviously, no Orange Juicers, no LG, but still some great showing out from the North American squads. I really am excited to see, how these teams are going to be playing in the final stretch open qualifiers this weekend, how the meta might be shaping up. I think this was a great showing, a great preview to what teams are really going to prioritize this next and upcoming weekend, and maybe even farther to come if, like you said, these speedsters don't see any nerfs anytime soon.
I mean, the thing is, I love it, but they need to. I mean, they've got to tweak this defense penetration, whatever it is. That's definitely feeling the difference in the game at the moment. I'm biased, I know, but I can acknowledge that they are definitely tweaked a bit too much. But hey, I hope you've enjoyed the action that you've seen over this weekend, chat. We've absolutely enjoyed putting it on for you. We've got to give some massive shout outs to people here, of course. Casters being myself, Kyle, Fu, Speedy, and Lobo throughout this weekend. And don't forget Finsterin over there on the Brazil coverage and Purple on the French coverage. Huge shout outs to our mods, Smeedy, Bina, Mylene, and Sam, because we wouldn't be able to do this without them. Observers as well. Bina gets another shout out, one of the best observers around. Whoop whoop. Yamin, Akemi, and me. And then producers wise, Yamin. Let's give a big shout out to Yamin. It was the first time doing production today, and they absolutely smashed it. So GG's to them, and a GG's to all of the players taking place.
Yeah, it's been an incredible tournament. I'm glad to be a part of it, as always. Don't go anywhere. I mean, there's going to be more, Unity Clash to be coming in the next few weeks, months. There's always a lot of show. I think there were 32 teams this time. Obviously, always a great preparation for tournaments to come. So if you're not following us already here on Ghatlue's channel, make sure to follow Unity Clash on all of the social media platforms. On X specifically, there's a lot of the announcements that go down about what tournaments are coming, anything to, happen in this, Western scene. So very excited to be part of this. But yeah, thank you to everybody involved. We are going to be taking off, and I know Tano's had a very long weekend of casting, so I bet he's waiting for me to stop yapping so he could go to bed. But for everybody here at Unity Clash, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be around next time. Thank you very much, folks.